Okay, so we're live. Um, Again, good evening, everybody, and welcome to this BPMN Model Interchange Working Group demonstration uh, and meet and greet. For those that are remote, thank you for joining. We have a room of about 40 to 50 people physically, locally with us here. And we will start with the interchange demonstration. So let me share my screen quickly. So we're going to do a BPMN capability demonstration, which is a capability demonstration of the interchange capability that the OMG standard provides. We have 11 different tools that are participating in this particular interchange demonstration. We have some people physically here, and we have some people remotely around the world. We have people in Zurich, in Montreal, in where's Boris again? In the ether, and we have Francois, in, not Francois, but Benjamin in Paris. So basically, whoop, skip suddenly. So BPMN offers as a standard the full standardized notation so that the symbols mean the same thing to everybody. We also have the standardized semantic so that the models behave the same way on every tool. And we also have a standardized file format, which allow for us to actually interchange files between different tools. So some of the problem was or is that the BPMN spec is quite a voluminous spec, and there was some different interpretation of the spec by different vendors. Not in a negative way, it just happened that the way they understood things. So the solution to make sure that we have a common understanding and common interchange was to create the BPMN Model Interchange Working Group. And the working group is basically there to support, facilitate, and promote the interchange of BPMN models. So we're uniting basically all the vendors from the world that want to contribute and participate into improving the interchange of models. So the initiative that BPMN MIWG took includes defining some test case for different aspects of the specification. We have automated and semi-automated test suite for validating the model from the different contribution from the vendors, making sure that the models are valid. The semi-automated portion, for those asking, is where we deal with the visual, because BPMN also define what we call the diagram interchange so that the visual is the same. So at one point, we're pretty good at mapping the area where shape should be with software, but we use human eye to kind of interpret whether it was exactly in line. We also have some guidelines that we provide for interchange, some specification improvement. There's a table of results of all the tests we've done and the capability demonstration, what we're doing tonight. So this is a quick snapshot. It's not meant to be read here of our table of results. It's available on GitHub. So all the work of the DMN, the BPMN MIWG, DMN is slipping into my mind. The BPMN MIWG is public domain. So everybody is free to join, free to contribute to the Model Interchange Working Group. And we're trying to help and test as many tools as possible in the interchange. So the demonstration we're going to do tonight is a challenge, a technical challenge, not from the BPMN point of view, but it's a technical challenge from the point of view that we're using Hangout and different things and people all over the world. And we may run into some communication issues, but I can guarantee you the BPMN won't be an issue. So the scenario we're using tonight is a very simple, naive employee onboarding situation where the company is onboarding a new employee, throwing a signal out so that IT, payroll, and facilities receive this signal and initiate their own process to onboard this particular employee, and then they report back to the central orchestrating process or pool to say that the work was done and then complete the onboarding. So this particular model will be built iteratively from different tools, all collaborating to create the one model. And then after that, we will execute this same model. So we'll have YoCam BPMN editor, which is an open source editor that will do the front end portion of one of the lane, which will be followed by the Adonis tool from BOC, carry on the work that was done by YoCam. The front end of the other lane here will be created in Visio by Case Agile to go into Enterprise Web, and the tail end will be done by ITsoft W4. Then Signavio will initiate the modeling of the IT pool, which will be completed by ITP Commerce. Camunda will model a separate payroll pool, and Estico with the BPMN tool will do the facility pool. We'll then use the Trizotech BPMN modeler to assemble all the separate pieces that were created into one single model. And once we have the one single model, we'll put it out in another tool called BPMN Viewer to look at it. And once we're done with the modeling, we'll then push that same model to execution. So we have 3 execution engines that will collaborate tonight. So the ITsoft W4 execution engine will execute a portion of the main pool. Then OmniLink will execute portion of the IT pool. And then Camunda will execute the tail end of the facility pool and the tail end of the complete thing. So it's quite a geeky fest here. And we're relying on Google Hangout, so please bear with us. So let me stop sharing my screen, move into the Hangout environment, and now we'll ask before I do that, let me go around the table very quickly. So at the end here, I have Francois from ITsoft W4. We have Zbigniew from BOC. We have Tobias from Signavio. Tim will be doing both YoCam and OmniLink. We have Alessandro, who's doing the BPMN from Estico, Falco from Camunda, myself from Trizotech, and remotely we have Antonio from ITP Commerce. We have Boris from Case Agile. We have Simon from Trizotech, and we have Benjamin from ITsoft W4. So let's get going with this. We don't want to bore you with too much technical detail. We'll try to give you some sense of what's going on as we're doing it. So we're going to start with Tim, who's going to start modeling on the YoCam tool and share his material. So we see Tim is initiating the modeling in the YoCam tool. In parallel, Boris, who's remote, will start doing the modeling in Visio of his portion, and Tobias here is going to do the modeling. So Tim is now modeling in a open source tool called YoCam. And then here I have Tobias doing some modeling of the IT pool in the Signavio tool. And I have Boris remotely starting to do some modeling in Visio of his portion of the main pool, one of the lane of the main pool. So one of the things that we're doing, because we're a little bit cocky, we decided not to stick with just the model or the diagram as people are used to. We're also going to populate some of the hidden attributes. So BPMN has all these symbols that we recognize on diagrams, but we also have a lot of attributes that are behind the scene, specifying more details than the visual that you get. So we're going, as we're creating these models, we're going to populate some of these items or these attributes that are in the background and showing you how they're still getting interchange from tool to tool and in the end executed. So Boris is working on Visio here. He's doing a small portion of the lower lane of the main pool. Tobias is modeling in there. He's adding a data store, which is the employee detail data store, and going to actually configure some of the hidden attribute of that data store by providing the reference and capacity and the unlimited fact that the Boolean about the fact that it's an unlimited storage into his modeling. Boris is completing his portion of the modeling in the Visio tool, and Tim is also doing some modeling here. And for some reason, your overlay is not showing on the screen, but I see it there. He's right now configuring the data store, which he did. You didn't see his overlay there for some reason. We'll blame it on Google. Google don't like overlays. So we have now 3 tools that are working to create the front-end portion of the model. And what we'll do is they'll save their unfinished work still in a proper valid BPMN file. We're using Dropbox as our quote-unquote central global repository. So we're dropping these files in Dropbox. The other vendors are picking up these files in Dropbox to model. So as their work is completed, Boris is now in the process of saving his model into the common Dropbox. Tobias has already or is in the process of doing that at this moment. And then Tim, as he's completing his work, will be saving it also into the Dropbox. So as this work gets completed, then the second wave of working, and you can see the message from Dropbox probably popping out behind me. So you can see Tobias' file is now in the Dropbox. So the work that was done by Signavio will be picked up by ITP Commerce in Zurich. So Antonio will be joining in from Zurich to do his portion of the modeling. Francois from W4 will be picking up the file from Boris, the Visio file, and Zbigniew at the end here at the top, at the far left, will be picking up the work that was done from Joachim. So Zbigniew is opening the Adonis tool and will be picking up the work from Joachim. So he's importing this file into his modeler. Francois will be sharing his screen. And Francois is importing the work that was done in Visio. So you can see that the work that was done by Boris in Visio is imported into the W4 tool. And Francois will populate the attribute of the signal and will continue to build on that particular work. And then Antonio here is picking up the work that was done in the Signavio tool. And Antonio can show us that the hidden attribute of the data store that was entered by Tobias in the Signavio tool are there with the capacity, the unlimited Boolean to true in there. So everything that was modeled in the previous tool got carried in to the next tool. So Antonio will continue to augment this model to complete the IT pool of execution. Francois will add on different elements to the work that was done in Visio. And Zbigniew is right now showing the different attributes on the data store, the employee detail data store that are available in the import from Joachim, and will be adding to this same model. So we have quite a complex, well, it's really a simple model, but we're complexifying it by having many tools, submitting different portion of this, and iteratively building the model. So we see Zbigniew working in the Adonis tool, adding to the Joachim portion. And Francois is modeling the tail end of the pool, which is the tail end, which receive all the different messages from the different stakeholders, IT, facilities, and payroll, which are going to contribute message back when their work is done. So Francois is creating all these receiving messages in the main pool, and will be configuring these messages with the different hidden attribute, the message name, and for the different, so he's naming the different message that are coming in from facility, from IT, and from payroll. In the meantime, Antonio, oops, I've lost Antonio. Oh, there's Antonio. So Antonio is showing that the attributes are there available, and will be populating again yet some more attributes on the data store and adding to the model. And Zbigniew is completing his work on the main pool at the top. So we have all three threads going on in parallel. Francois is finishing up. Antonio is just saving his work from ITP Commerce. And ITP Commerce, for those that maybe have a keen eye, is a Visio add-in. So it's an add-in software that gets added to Visio. So he's completing his work there in the Visio add-in from ITP Commerce to save the file. Zbigniew is also saving his work there. And Francois will be also saving his work shortly. So you'll see the different files coming in the Dropbox as they're completing their work. So as soon as their portion of the work will be done, Simon from Trizatec will be joining in from Montreal, and he'll be picking up all the different pieces that are all in different files, and will assemble them into a unique BPMN file. So we can show Francois here finishing his messages. And then for the next wave, we'll have Trizatec, Camunda, and BPMN Alessandro, who will be picking up the work. So Simone is joining in from Montreal. So Simone will be picking up the work that was done by all the different tools. So he already has the top lane of the main pool, which was created with the Yokiam and BOC tool, Adonis. So he's picking up this piece of work. He's now going to go and pick up the work that was done by Visio Enterprise Web and W4, and do a collage, a copy paste of this inside there. And in parallel with this, Falco is starting to model the payroll pool in the Camunda tool. And Alessandro is starting to model the facility pool in the BPMN. Sorry, I don't know how to say differently than BPMN, even though it's BEEPMN. So he's in the BPMN doing the modeling with the Estico tool. So Alessandro is right now adding different tasks to the payroll, moving to Falco. Falco is completing some of the modeling for the payroll pool, and then moving to Simone. And Simone is bringing in the work that was done by the W4. If Francois is done, are you done, Francois? Almost. Okay, so we're waiting for Francois for this portion of the work, but Simone can show the work that was done by Yokiam and BOC, and from Signavio and ITP Commerce. So here's the work that was started from Signavio, and you can see that the attributes that was created in both previous tools are still present at import in yet another tool there. So we have all the hidden attributes of the data stores that are available there at import. And so we're going to assemble all this together. So let me move back to Alessandro for his modeling, and Falco here. So we can see that Francois is done with the W4 portion of the model. So now Falco is adding data stores to his diagram. And Alessandro is adding a data store. So Alessandro will putting the details for the employee detail data store. So the simple model we're using there is using a common data store over and over and over as an indirect communication. So Alessandro will be configuring the hidden attribute of this facility pool there. So you can see that even though we're using the same notation, BPMN, and we're using the same attributes, details, all the tools are different in their rendering and their way of actually doing the work, but it's using the common language and the common interchange capability. So each tool is free to bring features and what I always refer to as tool smart, but their own value add to the standard while still using the standard as a common ground. So if I'm moving to Simone again, now Simone will be bringing in the W4 portion, which was created in Visio at first. So therefore, Simone will show that all the message that Francois configured, all the attributes of that message are still there in the model for the different message. And we'll be assembling this. In the meantime, Alessandro is done with the BPMN portion. Falco is now starting to add the attribute. Are you at that point yet? Yeah, so he's adding the different attributes, hidden attributes to the data store and to the message at the end there, the terminating message, the end message. And then switching back to Simone, Simone is basically assembling the different pieces to make them look visually as the intended visual is. Falco is just completed his work, so we'll focus now on Simone, who will be assembling everything that was done in the Trisotech web modeler for BPMN. So he's connecting different messages, or in this case, sequence flow that are going across the lanes. He's already imported the IT pool. He's now importing the work from Falco Camunda. So here's the message, terminating message that Falco configured, and the attribute, and the initiating signal, and there the attribute to the signal. So we'll be bringing this into the general tool. And then we'll also add in the facility pool from BPMN. So here you have, again, the message configuration that was done by Alessandro, and the data store hidden attributes that were done in the BPMN Estico tool. It seems simpler for me to say that, than BPMN all the time. So they're being all assembled within the Trisotech tool. So now we have the main pool. There's some coloring there. So you see some tools are using coloring by default, which are also being interchanged there. We have the IT pool. The IT pool was created by Signavio and ITP Commerce. And we have the payroll, which was done by Camunda. And we have the facilities, which was done by BPMN. And we have all this in a single model. So now Simone is going to export this assembled model into the same Dropbox central repository. And Boris we'll use the BPMN tool, the BPMN view tool, which is just a browser-based viewer of BPMN. So if I move to Boris, Boris will share his screen and show us how he's able to import the resulting BPMN model into BPMN view. So BPMN view is just a viewer, a browser-based viewer. So you can see that we have the main pool that's there, the IT pool that's there, and the payroll pool and the facility pool. So basically what we just demonstrated is how using different tools we can create different portion of a model, even in an attribute, assemble them still within the standard, and create a single model that is reopenable and reusable by the different tools. So for the second portion of the demo, we're going to move to execution. So now we're going to take this same scenario. Just to not bore you completely with techie stuff, we initiated the engine and started some steps as we were going. So we have Francois, actually not, it's Benjamin from Paris, who will be executing some step in the IT Soft W4 tool. And then we'll be followed by Tim on the OmniLink tool and by Falco in the Commando tool. So I'll go back to Hangout here and bring in Benjamin, who will be describing his portion of the execution.
Hello, everyone. So what I'm going to show you now is the execution of the first process, Money Bank, that was designed a few minutes ago. So let's say I'm an HR employee that wants to start the recruitment process of a candidate that accepted an offer. So as the HR employee, I'm going to start the Money Bank process. And the first thing I'm going to do is to send the candidate his contract, and we are going to say that he accepted these terms of the contract. So I'll have to get the signature and input the employee details. Then I'm going to request the preparation for this new employee, and we will see that the signal is triggered, and we will see that it will start 3 other instances for IT, payroll, and facilities. So the first thing is I'm going to connect as the HR employee to my application. Here is my work list. For now, I have nothing to do, so I'm going to start the new Money Bank process. Let's just go back to my admin application to show you that the instance was created and where we are in this instance. It will be easier to understand. This is my Money Bank process. We can see that an instance was created and I am on the first task. So the candidate accepted the terms of the contract, so I complete the task. Now I have gotten his signature and I'm inputting his details, completing the task. And now I'm going to request the preparation, and once it's done, I'm completing the task. What we can see is that I have now 3 new tasks in my work list that are for the 3 other processes: facilities, payroll, and IT. And if I go back to my admin and technical follow-up to show you where we are, we can see that the token navigated through the processes to the process and triggered the signal. Now we can see we have the 3 instances of IT, payroll, and facility. And on technical follow-up, we can see that the signal was received and the instance was started for facilities, for IT, and for payroll. The last thing I want to show you is that the data was transmitted through the signal. So I have here my three processes, payroll, IT, and facility. And if I look at the data, I find my employee details, Benjamin Michel, that was transmitted through the signal. For facility, for IT, here, and for payroll, here. Back to you, Denis.
So now we're going to move to Tim, who's going to show the execution from the IT pool for the onboarding of the client. So let me move to Tim.
So here we have the process lists in OmniLink. I'm just going to pull up our money bank. So we see the process that you're starting to get familiar with now. We've got a bunch of tasks to initiate from HR, and then down here we will see the signal. I can show you those hidden attributes are coming through. That's the name of the signal that we configured earlier on. I can also show you the data store. We saw the unlimited capacity of the employee details data store. And then we will move along to the IT pool, as Denny said. So also, as described, we've started a few instances here, and this is being the most recent. We should see that I have run this through. This is the audit trail. We can see what has already happened. So the things Benjamin was showing you in W4 have already been done in the OmniLink engine. We've now received the signal, and I'm going to proceed showing you a little bit more from here. So the IT pool is going to start off by we need to create a domain account for our new employee. We will then move on to preparing the workstation. You may recall that was a manual task. We've converted that into a user task so that we can control it within the process here. And then I will show you the last part and hand back. So over in my work list, I have a few things left over from earlier on. If I open the create domain account task, we can see that the signal has told me that it's Benjamin that we're onboarding here. I'm going to copy the link from our CRM to represent that external data source. And we will see how that integrates a little downstream. So we're done. That's the user I want to onboard. And we see, in fact, in the time that it took me to do that, the task has arrived. So prepare the workstation. This is the manual task. The instructions to me as the user are provided by BPMN documentation. Once I've done configuring that workstation, I mark it complete. And then the last thing is to see that we have the user management, and that is the link that we will have to our external system, where you can see it brings up my record of Benjamin in the CRM. Now back in the process definitions, if I look in to the IT process, we should see, if I can control my mouse. Okay, I will just restart. That happens, apparently.
This one we blame on the hotel. So we lost Tim's feed.
Are we back?
Yes, we just need your share. Share your camera.
Okay, so I think I was just showing you that we have the user management, that is the external data source reference that's been carried through. When I click it, it brings up Benjamin in the external system. Back in our process definitions, we have, these are the instances of the IT process, and we can see that this is where I was just showing you. We are at the task offered to the group technician, which is assign required applications that we were just viewing in the work list. Thank you. Back to you, Denny.
Thank you, Tim. So Tim showed us after the initiation from W4, IT software W4, so Falco will now show us the.
How about now?
Now we're
Better.
so Falco is now going to show you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So I'm gonna be the third engine executing this. I'm using the open source Camunda BPM platform to run this set of BPMN processes. And I will jump right to the end of the process. So you can see in my Camunda cockpit that I have 2 running instances left. And if I drill into this, I will see that this is the facilities pool and the overall onboarding process. Let's zoom a little more into this diagram here. So you see this is the overall process that we created. And we are already almost at the end. But you can see here is the section where we are waiting for 3 BPMN messages. 2 of them are already received, so 2 of the sub-processes already finished. And the last one, that's the one that will come from the facilities pool. So apparently that must be still running. If I go now to the task list, I will see that indeed there is a task waiting for me. And if I drill into the diagram, and you can see it's the facilities diagram, and also there's just one last user task, and then we are done with this portion. And we want to see actually that this message is sent to the other process, because that's what we configured in our modeling exercise earlier. So let me complete this task. Apparently, I need to fill out a little form here and approve Benjamin's access card. And now if I complete this task, nothing is to be done here. If I refresh, we can see that now the last message has been received, and we moved on to this parallel gateway and into the next user task. Now I will spare you with the execution of these last 2 steps in the process. What was really interesting to see here is that all the different tools created technical attributes, hidden attributes, and they were what made this interchange work here and made this communication work. Okay, that's all for me. Back to you, Denis.
Denis, not sure if you can hear me, but we have nothing on the live feed.
Pretty proud. We have the full modeling, the full execution model. So thank you for bearing with the geeky part. We'll be open for conversation and questions in the room after. For those that are remote, thank you for attending, and we'll talk to you soon and see you soon all. Thank you.